So it is 4 o'clock on Wednesday, July 16, 2025. We'll bring the Auburn Water District Trustee meeting to order. Would someone be willing to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 18, 2025?
Move that we approve the minutes of the June 18th meeting.
I second that.
Thank you. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So, Mike, we can move on to your my financial report update.
Sure. So this month revenues are slightly over budget, expenses are slightly under budget due largely to timing. You'll notice a jump in miscellaneous operating revenue. It's due to a $17,000 trading credit on our old loader and a $30,000 capacity development grant that closed out from 2024 last month. There were no principal or interest payments in June. Cash levels have remained relatively consistent to prior month, and cash on hand of $4.1 million is sufficient to service debt and fund existing operations. The other blurb here I had was an update on meter funding. So if you recall, we're trying to figure out how much we can fund with cash, how much we would need to bond out, and how much we would need to raise rates for the meter funding. The big piece that's open right now is we're working on a capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. So once that's figured out, that'll help us quantify what we need to borrow and what we need to raise. I did reach out to the bond bank just to quantify or to get their schedules for what that looks like. If we were to go with a spring issuance, we'd have to apply at the start of February and have PEC approval of our rates in place by April. If we went with the fall issuance, we would need to apply at the start of August and have PUC approval of our rates in place by September. And it's likely that the rate increase process with PUC would take at least 70 days for approval and implementation. But I'm happy to address any questions anyone has on that stuff.
No questions. That's good. That's a good thing. Thank you, Mike. Meter funding update.
That was.
I'm sorry, yeah, that was moved in there.
That's okay. That's okay. That is the next item. So
Yeah.
we do have a pause.
Yeah.
So now you're on public comment.
Public comment. Steve.
No comment, to the amazement of many.
You're good.
Yes,
All right. So we can move on to new business. Measuring the lake with Mike.
All right, we did discuss this last month. We kind of threw some ideas around on dates. So the date is going to be September 3rd. I will be sending out invitations to trustees, to the watershed, to city councilors and representatives of Lewiston to attend this event. In the past, we had done some different things at these meetings. We had roped in some trainings. We had done some other stuff. Recently, I went and got certified in some certified FOA training, just to try to help myself out. And we do need to be very careful at meetings like this. This is it's not a public meeting, right? It's not. We don't take minutes. We don't take notes. So we do have to be careful about our, not having work discussions or deliberations. And certainly we can go and celebrate and thank you for being trustees, and you can have lighthearted conversations with our constituents there, but we have to be careful not to get into deep discussions or deliberations on operations and that type of stuff to be in compliance with FOA laws. So
You mean at the measuring of the lake?
at the measuring of the lake.
Okay.
So I will most likely, when I send the invitations out, I will have a statement at the bottom that just kind of highlights that, just to make sure people are aware of that. And I think that's the best we can do to, because that recently got raised, not at this board, but at another board, like, well, how can you do that and not be in violation of FOA rules? Well, we're not deliberating, we're not voting, we don't have an agenda, we're not, it is what it is, so.
It is at the treatment plant though.
It's at the water treatment plant, yep.
Right, so you're gonna give tours and all that stuff?
I think we're gonna shy away from that stuff because that will inevitably lean into discussing, deliberating, explaining. We can answer questions, we can have one-on-one conversations, but we need to, when you have a quorum of board members there, you have to be careful not to have because you don't have the public there,
You'd have to advertise
You'd
as a
have
public
to.
meeting if you want to do that.
If we wanted to do that
So
and
if
get
you
into
wanted to give a tour of the treatment plant?
and I had more than 3 trustees, yes, it'd have
Three
to
or
be a public meeting. So you'd have to be so again, I'll just put a statement of that on the invitation, that we have to be careful of those things. But yeah, so we're moving forward. The caterer that we used the last 2 years I have not been able to get a response out of them. I have reached out to Burnt Ends, which is right here on Center Street. I recently went to a different event where they were the caterer. They did a wonderful job. They've given us a wonderful price. Nobody will be hungry. There'll be something for everybody, and there'll be tons of leftovers. So, and it'll be half the money we spent last year. So I think that is who we're going to be using. But that's all I had on that. Just know that the invitations will be coming. I will need the RSVP so we can track and plan for the food. So when you get that, just get that back to me or get it back to our office so we can keep track of that. So
What, do you know what time?
September 3rd, it's going to run from like 5 p.m. to like 7 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got on measuring in the lake.
We used bird tents for our golf banquet last year.
How'd that go?
It was excellent. The food was really, really good.
They had a lunch and learn over at Lockwood last month for that new tank. The new tank walls were going up, and there was like 100 people there, and it was great. They had a nice setup. They had somebody there serving, and it was very, very professional. Good. Should be good.
All right, thank you, Mike. So, AWSD legal representation.
Yes, at the last meeting, we discussed this, you know, as we talked, Mike Hodgin, who was our legal representation, was working for Peabody. That firm closed. He transferred over to Beryl Dana. So I did request information from Beryl Dana, their adequacy to serve the district and our legal needs, a statement of rates, so that we can continue to operate and use Mike. I did inform them that in addition to requesting this, that in 2026 that the district was going to be soliciting formal proposals. You know, we were going to be putting that out there, so at least they're aware of that. I'm not. So anyways, I did get this proposal. I did not wind up requesting one from Skelton, Tainer, and Abbott. I just didn't have the time the last month, and I didn't know who the contact was to reach out to because we've fallen out of communication with them. So I feel like this is a good plan to move forward. We can continue to use Mike Hodgins. He's also listed several other partners that he does have now through Beryl. And there is some other good news that I was kind of excited to hear. There is Beryl employs Jim Cohen. Jim Cohen is a water specialist. He's been in the state of Maine for, you know, practicing law specific to water for over 20 years now. He's actually used by both the Maine Rural Water Association, Maine Water Utilities Association when working on legislature in Augusta when it's specific to water. So he is a member of Beryl's team. Certainly that helps us out if we ever got into something, you know, that's part of the team that's servicing us. So some good news there. And again, Mike has always been really good to work with. So I feel very comfortable moving forward with Beryl until we can solicit for proposals next year. So the sewer board agreed to this. We didn't take a vote. It's just more of an understanding that, you know, this looks like a good proposal and we want to move forward. So unless the board has any other wishes, that's what we'll do for water as well.
I think we discussed it last month at length.
Yeah, yep. So that's the plan.
All right. So, Maine Water Utilities Association, Summer Road.
Yeah, this is more of an FYI. Again, I mentioned them just a minute ago. Maine Water Utilities Association. It's a membership organization. The Water and Sewer District, we belong to that organization. We get training through them. We get support, legislative support through Jim Cohen. A lot of other things that we get. You know, when we need something, we can call on our colleagues through this association for help. They put on a number of things throughout the year. Every year they have this summer outing. For like 30 years plus, this event was held at the Thomas Point Beach over in Brunswick. Through some ownership changes that had kind of stopped 2 years ago, and they've kind of bounced around a little bit. They did the Brunswick Naval Air Base a couple of years ago. That didn't really work out. They did the Cumberland Fairgrounds last year. I think the complaint was they didn't really have the facilities for the food, and the catering was difficult. I didn't make it to it, but that was what I got. Unbeknownst to me, they actually selected Lost Valley right here in Auburn. So this event is going to be hosted this year right here in Auburn. To me, this is a huge honor. Actually, today they asked for a copy of our logo. They're going to put it up on their banner when they welcome people into the event. I did help them get some sponsorships for the event, just reaching out to some of the local contractors and different members to help sponsor the event. So they're very appreciative of that. 500 to 600 water professionals from around the state in New England will be attending this on August 5th, right here in Auburn at Lost Valley. Jeff Harmon has agreed to give the welcome to Auburn, and I think it's going to be a nice event. I'm just telling you this as an FYI. If you hear about this, yeah, I heard about that event. It was certainly, if it's something you're curious about, you want to check it out, it's always free to just go in and check in. There's going to be vendor tables, there's training, and the biggest part of it is there's a luncheon in the afternoon, again, where people can just kick back, relax, and talk about the different priorities in the different communities. So yeah, just more of an FYI, but just wanted you to be aware that it's right here in Auburn, which is huge. And hoping they find this a very suitable location and a great home, and maybe it'll be here the next 30 years. That would be wonderful. So, and we did determine last night that the second photo was not taken here in Auburn. I haven't been, Dennis Bergeron kind of pointed that out. I've been up the lift at Lost Valley, but I don't think that's the view.
Wilderness.
But the top picture, that's from Lost Valley. But the bottom one, I think that's out west somewhere. But anyway.
Obviously, they did not consult you on the second picture.
They didn't consult me on the pictures, so, anyways, that's, again, it's just more of an FYI than anything. But Dennis is pretty sharp, he caught that. I didn't catch it, so.
So, we have old business, the skater agreements.
Yeah, so, I don't know where to start, but I'll start here. So as you all know, we issued the City of Lewiston a notice of breach back on March 21st in regards to our interlocal agreements for SCADA. I think we all know the kind of the backstory and the history and why we issued the breach. They did have 90 days to cure that breach. I believe it was at our last trustee meeting when I had gotten home that night. I checked my emails and I had received the response that night while we were last meeting.
Like
So-
day 89.
Yeah, day 89 of the 90-day cure. So I did distribute that to everybody. I think I forwarded it to everybody by email.
Yes.
I'll be completely honest with you, I was not happy with the response. I did put that in the packets again, just so that's common information. Basically, the response says, well, we never really did anything wrong. You didn't prove it. And we're now in compliance. Essentially, if you sum up the 6 or 7 pages, that's kind of what it says, which is really disappointing. Because in my mind, there's still several things that are unsettled. I did reach out to Dennis, the chair of the board, and I spoke with Jeff, who had also received the letter and had some preliminary conversations with the Lewiston mayor. And we ultimately wound up scheduling a meeting. And we met last week. Last week we...
Well, and I think it's important to point out, in the transmittal, the city attorney, who I'm sure worked with some of the staff to write that letter, his point was, if you read between the lines, why are you having these letters? Why don't they just have a meeting and work this out? Yeah. That was,
that's what we
that
wanted,
was
right?
the purpose of the breach letter, because they wouldn't have a meeting.
Back last July, I sent them a long letter saying,
Right.
hey, we need to figure these things out. Let's sit down and talk about these things and sort through this, and that never happened. And the result was, in the end, they wouldn't work with us on this, so we sent the breach. So the bottom line is we did have a meeting, Jeff, Dennis, myself, the Lewiston mayor, the Lewiston city admin, and their superintendent and assistant super. We all met. There was quite a bit of back and forth. I don't know if we really came to a resolution in the meeting. One recommendation from the meeting was that, well, why don't we schedule these regular meetings? And which we all agreed to that. Well, yeah, that's what we've been trying to get. So as a result of the meeting, I did meet with Erica last Friday. She immediately after the meeting reached out to me. We scheduled a meeting for last Friday, and we sat. She came here, and we had a discussion. And we went through the different issues as I see them, as she sees them, and as they were pointed out at the meeting. So that was very productive. Additionally, before Friday rolled around, I had a signed agreement for the Lakeshore Drive MPI project, which has been another one of these. We've been waiting for over a year to get this agreement executed. In addition to that, I had a signed MOU for 50% funding of the lake infrastructure study that we approved last month. So I got that not long after I received the Lakeshore Drive one. So they're meeting, they're signing the agreements, they're working through these issues. I'm hopeful that this will continue. I think we just kind of gotta keep this in our back pocket. You know, we've issued the notice of breach. Whether we need to send a formal response saying, okay, you've officially cured this or not, or if we just keep this in our back pocket that, you know, if it doesn't work out, we would have to take other action. We'll just have to see where that goes. But at this time, that's kind of where the status of things is.
Yeah, the meeting was a bit disappointing. You know, the mayor clearly wants a cooperative relationship and wants people to work together. It's not real clear. He sees the path forward to do that. He wants that to happen, but he's not really effectuating it. Not a lot of engagement by the city administrator. The staff folks mostly push back. I think that the big point we tried to make was they wanted to argue about the breach, and none of us wanted to argue about the breach letter, because our point was you can't get you guys to the table. That's why we had to go to this extent. I think they got that message. I think they got the message that they're non-responsive, and that's very good outcome that they signed these other things right away. I think they get that. I don't think we need to do anything further about the breach. My own thoughts on that are that, yeah, they breached it, but there's easier ways to, now we've got them to the table, right? There's easier ways if we want to effectuate a separation on SCADA, we can just give them a year's notice. I mean, we've been screwing around with this for 5 years. So, you know, we don't need to have a long protracted court issue with them to get where we need to go. I think they've got the message. I think that on our side, it's beneficial to spend the money to engage Mike Hodgins when we want to have agreement, so that he's looking at them ahead of time, and he can, Mike Carey is typically the guy that they have on their side for this. I think those two get along fine, and I think that that will be helpful in trying to keep these things moving. It's specifically the SCADA, it's great, as Mike said, well, they want to have these meetings. Okay, my point was, you know, okay, we've seen this show before, right? So everybody says, we'll do this, we'll have the meetings, you know, 6 months go by, no more meetings are being had. Our point for the three of us was, we're looking for a long-term solution to this, not just somebody's having some meeting. So it's a good point they're having the meetings. Our discussion afterwards, Dennis and I with Mike, is that we should engage in the meetings, they should set them up on some regular schedule, and we should go to the meetings, and I know Mike's working on this, to say, here's how this thing should work. And then if we get agreement with Erica, then we should draft the new interlocal agreement that ends the prior interlocal agreement and restate how SCADA is going to work, because even if we're having a cooperative relationship with Lewiston, it's not anywhere near what the agreement says. So, right, the agreement, whatever, however we're going to do this, if the parties agree, the agreement ought to say that. And they have some things to do on their side, I think, to fully get there. Did you talk to Erica about the distribution networks?
We basically agreed, yes, we did. You know, we both agreed that, you know, our staff, like our AWSC staff, can handle our distribution system, our collection system, but she still wants to have in the agreement that in the event of an emergency,
Sure.
let's say our guy goes down, we need more SCADA help, all right, send your guy over. But in this agreement, it now states, I'm not paying 50% of his salary, but if he comes over here for 10 hours, I'll pay you for 10 hours.
Right.
You know, vice versa, if our guy has to go to Lewiston and work for a day or two or a month, okay, well, it's at
Right.
this hourly rate or whatever.
Right, right. So that was part of the discussion the three of us had afterwards, which is primarily, at this point, we should just say, we'll take care of our network, you guys take care of your network, we're happy to help out, but the way the thing's written right now, there's joint responsibility for all of this amongst the two parties, so, and that should be around the treatment plant, but the networks, the city and the district should have primary responsibility for their own. Everybody's happy to help somebody out if they get in a jam.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
I thought that
work-
was a productive meeting, and we're gonna start redlining the draft agreement that I had presented last summer.
I thought the issue was the fact that, not so much SCADA, but the fact that they didn't have a class 4 operator's license.
Well, that's part of it.
Well,
So-
part of the
so-
problem, yeah, go ahead.
So they can do the SCADA part of it, but they can't start the system back up. Isn't that correct?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
How did, and that is not addressed in this complaint thing. So,
Well,
yeah, you know,
that
we can
was
provide-
addressed.
well, we can provide it, it's not written in here.
No, but when we had the meeting with them, we had the whole list of the things, and one of the issues, so we had a bunch of discussion. I guess I would say it's like this, Bruce, here's the things they have to do, they have to be electrician. That guy's a journeyman, he's not a master, we had a bunch of discussion about that, Mike followed up, because their assertion was, he can do anything just under somebody's license, and they never have to come look at it, they don't have to supervise the guy, and apparently that is correct. They have a guy with a master's license, and the journeyman, basically he's just taking a liability. He has to work on the SCADA equipment, do the programming, he could do that.
Yeah, so he can
He
do
has-
everything but start the system back up.
Well, yeah, and he has no operator license of any type.
Right. So
He has
how
a
do you
distribution, so-
address that?
So their
So if their
answer,
system goes down,
well,
do
they
they
don't
need
see
us
this
to
as a
start it
problem.
back up?
So the fundamental problem, so we talked about this last Friday, I talked about it with Erica. Our job description for our SCADA guy says must be a grade 4 water treatment, grade
Right.
3 distribution, must
Right.
be a master electrician. I said, through our discussions and as we negotiate a new agreement that's gonna supersede the other two, we need to get so that your job description is at least equal to ours. Because if they're going to be that other responsible entity, they're on call, so they're watching SCADA for us up at the water treatment plant. Effectively, you know, SCADA's a complicated animal. It's the programming that essentially tells a chemical feed pump how to dose, when to dose, how much to dose. And if you're having to replace that or reprogram that in the night, you need to make sure that you understand how to reprogram that calculation for the dosage and make sure that you're effectively treating the water to the state standards. You have to be a grade 4. And unless, you know, to me, until Lewiston gets their technician at that, it should be at their expense that they cover. Well, if we gotta cover somebody else to come in on that grade 4 to cover your guy,
Yeah.
then you pay us for that. You
And
know?
that was their answer. Their answer was, well, this guy doesn't need any of that because there's other people that work on the plant that have it and they're on call. And our point was, so what you're telling me is, this guy's gonna be on call and he can do the programming, but somebody else has gotta tell him what to program it and make sure it's okay before he turns it on. And we gotta pay twice as much for the calling. Yes, well, that's not gonna work for us, so.
So that's part of what we've gotta negotiate through, and we've gotta, you know, I'm making it very clear that, you know, for this to work, for us to sign another agreement with you that supersedes this, that I want this on terms that this guy can stand alone in his own position.
So when I read this SCADA thing, I'm thinking, okay, they're correct. The guy can do SCADA, but he can't turn the system back on.
But
So it's like, he's
half a
worthless.
loaf. Right,
Right.
and that's the whole
And
point.
they didn't address that.
No,
Correct.
Now, do they have to, do one of our on-call people have to do that for them now, or?
it's kind of a complicated thing. There's multiple people who are on call at the treatment plant at the same time. There's operational staff and there's SCADA staff. So again, until we get to where we're at a reasonable resolution of this, yeah, it'll have to be covered. You know, when he gets called in the night, and if he has to get into something technical, somebody else will have to be there to make sure that, well, how did you program it? Did
So
you?
if it's one of our people, the way we're gonna be billing them for our workers' services.
If our guy
It's
gets
on the Lewiston
called
side.
in to go up there and he's not on call, then we're gonna send them a bill for, well,
But it might not be our SCADA guy.
Right.
It could be one of the,
would be one of the
Okay,
operators.
the
yeah,
treatment
but
plant
what-
that's on
If our
call.
person has to go in to do something that the Lewiston person can't do on an overtime call, then we're gonna get reimbursed for that, and they will pay it.
That for, right, but that's kind of a loaded question, and there's a lot there, but yes, essentially, yes.
Okay.
Wasn't that one of the also contributing factors of hiring an additional SCADA technician for
Yeah, the biggest,
the district?
yeah, the biggest thing was, well, you know, treatment facility is one thing. Our entire collection and distribution system network with, you know, we've got 27 wastewater pump stations. We've got 20 or so water treatment buildings in our system, from booster stations to water tanks to
Right.
all of these things. Their guy has been gone for 5 years. So if
Yeah.
our guy was out sick, we had no backup.
Right.
I don't have a guy.
No, I think
Yeah.
he well needed,
And
but
it is
it was
a
a
good-
very contributing factor
And it's a
to us.
very good point, and one of the points we made at this meeting was that, my point was, the board, meaning this board, is interested in continuity of services, and we've hired another guy, because even if we had one and they had one that were completely, fully qualified, if one of them got hit by a bus tomorrow, now you only got one. And so, our point to them was, well, we've hired another guy, and he's not at the full level, but he's being trained to get there, and they need to think about doing the same thing. Because even if their guy gets trained up, over the 5-year period, it hasn't been the water district's people that have left a gap, it's been Lewiston Public Works.
So that kind of point was pushed back and forth a few times, and they kind of threw it at us. Well, what would you do if your guy left tomorrow? I said, well, I wouldn't leave you hanging for 5 years. You know, and oh, by the way, we hired a second guy who would back up our guy if he left tomorrow. That's the point of it. You know, so, you know, it was an interesting meeting. You know, it got a little back and forth there, but
Good.
some things needed to be said,
Yeah.
and I like the progress that's been made post-meeting. I've been very happy. Wow, I got that. These agreements are getting signed, and
Yeah.
progress is happening, and I feel confident. You know, I get along well with Erica. We can discuss things. I can be frank with her, and she can fire back at me. You know, we can. You know, I'm gonna hold up for our end of the bargain here, and hopefully we'll get to where we can sign a new agreement. So that's what we're gonna work towards.
Good.
Water quality update.
Yeah, so, change gears here. So the water quality in the lake is looking good. The clarity is actually trended upwards, which basically means that you can, I think, as of last week, you could basically see 30 feet down into the lake based off the clarity of the water. So that's pretty darn clean. Our turbidity levels are at or below average, so, you know, very, very pleased with that. The water temperature in the lake has remained, you know, it's been kind of a cold, wet spring, so the water temperature is down. So that's always good for us, so we're always happy with that. Couple of things that I did want to bring up, it's kind of related to water quality. It's more watershed stuff. Our septic inspection program, that's been going very well. We have, out of the phase 1 folks, we've had 7 inspections that have been completed, and they're in the process of getting those reports reviewed and then reimbursed for the inspections through the commission. That's going very well. The city has sent out the phase 2 letters. Our staff is scheduling a community event. It looks like it's going to happen sometime in September at the Auburn Community Center. Certainly the folks in the phase 2 and anyone remaining from phase 1 would be welcome to join that if they have additional questions. But it's all going very well. As soon as the city sent out the phase 2 letters, I was told we got over 25 calls and engaged with residents, and we were helping them through that. We have also been getting a bunch of calls from other licensed septic inspectors that want to be on our list of, you know, we sent out that preliminary poll, we only got 3. I think at this time we've almost doubled our list. So it's all good stuff. So water quality's good and progress has been good.
So Mike, if you guys had, Jalen Trailer Park residents, there's been a bunch of discussion about that. So it's not clear that, I think the intention was to include them, but it isn't clear that the current language of the ordinance includes them.
The discussions that we've had, we believe it does cover that the portion of their service lines that's within the watershed must be inspected. I haven't had any direct conversations about this in the last month, but we were talking about this a couple of months back, and our feeling was that it did cover that, but I can circle back on that and see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's opinion is that it does cover it, but it isn't specific to that. And so I guess my only point is, if there's pushback about that, you need to let us know, because we
Okay.
can amend the ordinance to clarify the surface line issue.
I think between Dave, Eric, and Danielle, they had determined that under the definition of a subsurface system, that includes the service pipe from the home to the system, and they felt like under that clause, that captures private service lines in the watershed.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the thought, because we used that language when we were communicating with the community college.
Mhm.
And they went with that. So I will circle back on that and make sure that's all going as planned.
Anything more to share about the Lake Shore Drive MPI project?
I guess the good news is we've got the agreement signed. We have a kickoff meeting on the 17th, and that's going well. One kind of curveball that came up with regarding Lake Shore Drive is we've been doing a really good job of meeting with DOT and trying to get their attention on Lake Shore Drive. In addition to the culvert, there's a lot of problems on Lake Shore Drive. And Danielle organized a meeting about a month ago, and a bunch of people from DOT came out. We actually walked Lake Shore Drive, looked at all of the erosion, looked at all the failed culverts. Unfortunately, last week, their DOT's taking action to try to, found some clause where they want to turn the road over to the city. So the city's going to have a time to respond to that, and there's going to be some back and forth, which did raise I raised the question in the meeting. So what happens? Are we going to lose this grant, this MPI grant that we were already awarded? If all of a sudden it's not your road anymore?
Probably not, because we get MPI grants.
Right, I hope not, but I asked the question, and
This has been a strategy by DOT over the last couple of years to, there's certain classifications of roads that are state aid roads, that they have the ability to stop making them state aid roads and just say they're city roads, and there's been quite an acceleration of that, not just in Auburn, all over the state. So, yeah, I don't know what that means.
so again, it doesn't really pertain to the MPI project, but just for your awareness, that'll be going on. I can kind of jump to the next one too, the infrastructure study. As I reported, they signed that agreement. We've got a call out to CDM Smith to execute the agreement and start moving ahead with that work. So excited about both of those things, and I'm glad we took the votes the way we did at our last meeting. That's very good for us, and so we've got a 50-50 partner now, so that's good. So yeah.
Thank you. Activity report and project update, Matt.
Just for efficiency's sake, I'll just go through the project update since we're all kind of there on that page right now. And getting right into it, DOT pavement projects. Crew's been very busy. You can see our schedule outlined there. They are paving the northern section of Center Street right now. We had 2 operators out there adjusting our infrastructure, making sure that's level with the pavement. July 21st, they are going to be transitioning to night work. Around Apple Breeze, down through Vets Bridge area, down to approximately Chipotle area. When they're done with that section, we have all our structures lowered in that section already, so we're in good shape there. Once they're done with that, there is an add-on with that project. They'll be mobilizing down to Union Street. Our crew will be going to Union Street tomorrow, and I'll give a little blurb on that too. Once they're done with milling those sections, they will be looking to start paving the southern section approximately like August 3rd. You know, there's gonna be some flexibility in there due to weather and unforeseen events. And then Mechanics Row, Main Street, Academy Street, and High Street. That DOT project was awarded to Shaw Brothers. They are mobilizing next week. They will have coastal road repair in their milling. And as of today, all of our water valves in that section have been lowered to include a larger volume that I had noted there. We have approximately 40 valves in there to lower. There was some ADA and sidewalk work in there that was not originally disclosed, but we got that information. Those have all been adjusted. Lower Nav water main replacement project. All of that main has been relayed. The new services have been tied in. I am now reaching out, coordinating with Spencer Pavement for them to get in there and make the pavement repairs on that section. Spring Street. Once we get through this bottleneck of navigating these add-ons of the DOT projects, lowering, raising infrastructure, we will be mobilizing over there. Orders will be hitting our budget for parts and material probably next month. Spring flushing, we've got approximately 64% of hydrants flushed in the distribution system at this point. We had a good charge at the beginning of the night with having 2 operators on night shift doing that. However, due to juggling these projects and these schedule changes as well as add-ons to them, it's kind of slowed our progress there. But they are still working hard to get that done efficiently. Spring Street water main replacement. Sorry, I think I conflated spring flushing with the Spring Street, 2 springs in a row. Anyway, we're planning on mobilizing, we'll be ordering our parts this month, mobilizing beginning of August timeframe, beginning to mid-August, for relaying a section from Court Street just south of Hannaford. And then LCRR, with all that stuff still in the mix and the season starting to wind down a little bit, we're starting to see the finish line. We will be addressing services that are unknown on our side as well as unknown on the customer side. Our new utility service department has a roster of approximately 40 of those right now. They've been going out investigating, pre-marking to see, you know, are there any constraints with us doing this? Does a ding safe need to be called in? Is there a tree in the way? Is there landscaping in the way? So that way we can coordinate with our customers to make sure that we provide the best service possible to them while also meeting our regulatory requirements. And back to the DOT paving projects. Been a large volume, and I'd just like to say thanks due to the support of the board as far as allowing us to purchase the equipment they need. That's allowed us to move through these fairly quickly. Again, the volume of gate valves that we had in that project on Main Street, Mechanics Row, Academy and High, approximately 40 valves there, as well as about 25 manholes. They started on Monday, they're completed by noontime today.
Wow, that's great.
So, yeah, and it's reducing the labor on our staff. Been high heat, we all know how warm it's been lately. They've been coming back to the shop, happy, smiling. Like maybe popsicles and Gatorade in the freezer might help a little bit with that, but I just want to say thank you, gentlemen, for your support with that. Otherwise, you know, we would still be out there adjusting them right now.
Oh, God, yeah, and on and on.
Especially with these tight time constraints that we have and these add-ons that we're not necessarily aware of or were part of these projects originally. So due to us having that, we will be mobilizing to Union Street tomorrow, lowering our structures in that area. We should have that complete by tomorrow. So we're working very efficiently.
Maybe we'll get a little shade in the Union Street bypass instead of out in all the sun.
Yeah, we'll put that on the CIP next year, shade for crew members.
Wow.
If there are no questions, I'll get back to the activity report. So you can see, happy to see, a lot of our time with mains has been consumed with the water main replacement project on Lower Ave. Worked through that very efficiently. Gates, you can see, Center Street's been a big one for us, as well as some here and there in hotels, our Hotel Road. Hillsdale Ave, been up there. City has reconstruction projects up there in that area. They are, or we have contracted with them to raise and lower structures there, but there is still some work there that we need to do to assist them. Hydrants, again, spring flushing, spent about 68 hours. The updated number there is we have approximately 200 hydrants remain to be flushed as of yesterday. And then we have a handful that we're aware of, and we are going to try to adjust sprinkling when we have openings between project work. New services, I had approximately 4. Only 2 of those received meters. The other 2 were the taps. Suspect the meter install will be coming when the developer or contract is ready for those. Services, and you can see, a lot of installed meters work, as well as one of them calls out backflow preventer. Before we could install that meter, we need to have a backflow preventer in place. And then a couple of service leaks. Both of those were on the owner, and some service box adjustment. Meter information, everything looks consistent, as you'll see. With our meter replacements now, we are replacing the old Siemens with Camstrop. Sorry, it's not Siemens. Census. Sorry. Station checks, again, utility service department. The addition of that department's been huge. I can't say enough as far as the station checks. And moving away from having siloed individual workers to a department where we have programs in place, it reduces the day-to-day chaos that comes in that's unplanned from customer complaints or contractor, or awareness with contractors for us to follow up with some work for them, as well as them doing our station checks. And it builds in redundancy. So now we have 3 people that are trained in how to do locates, how to do installation of the meters, how to do meter reading, as well as taps in our service area, and station checks as well. Water quality, we had 2 over the month. One was discolored, the other one was low chlorine residual. The discoloration, it was only at one local, I believe it was a toilet. When we got there, there was no observation of dirty water. Could be something stirred up in the main and it came through and flushed its way through. As far as laboratory, everything looks consistent there. You can see a dramatic rise in the water temperature, something to keep an eye on, as that correlates with the amount of disinfectant that will be required for us to have a long detected residual out into the far ends of our distribution system, which we're seeing as far as us turning over Poland tank. What I mean by that is we like to, if you don't turn over the water quality in your tank, you'll have 3 different layers in it. The middle is usually warmer, and the higher layer is the warmest. Higher temperature, more demand on the disinfectant, so it's our job to make sure that we're cycling that water through so those layers don't sit there and the disinfectant residual gets even lower. And then Lake Auburn, you see number of patrols has gone up, and as far as usage has been fairly consistent for the year. Weather, we just talked about that. Water temperature is going up. Water temperature is going up because summer finally arrived, and it's been fairly warm. Dig safes, total number of dig safes has dropped a little bit. I suspect that's due to You can see the surge in April and May. Usually that's the beginning of construction season, so you see an influx of those. Now all those dig safes are called in. You see a little bit of decline because those are still open. I suspect as we get nearer to the end of the construction season, we'll see another bump in those numbers. And again, utility service has been doing a great job out there, keeping up with those dig safe locates. And duty foreman calls, we had a total of 6 between the 2 districts, 5 on the water, 2 of them related to service issues, and 3 of them were miscellaneous. Then under maintenance to trucks, other activities, the maintenance to trucks, 28 hours there. Operator training, we had 32 hours there. Equipment maintenance, 11 hours. Inventory, 39 hours. Locates, 88, and facility maintenance, 31. That was a lot, gentlemen. Any questions?
One,
Yes.
on the replaced meters this year, are they all the new smart meter 121?
As of about 2 months ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so approximately 50 have been installed, you think?
Yeah, actually, as of the end of last week, we were over 50, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we're really excited with that because, again, if you remember, we're kind of using that as kind of like a little pilot testing to see maybe we can extrapolate information from that to see what we could see for revenue or usage.
Matt, on the services?
Sure.
The very last one, 6th Street. Yep. Remove debris, that wasn't a vandalism issue, was it?
No, no, not that I'm aware of. They didn't bring that to my attention. Sometimes, you know, the nature of doing the work or things just shifting, debris gets down in the valve box, and sometimes we have to, you know, either use a blow pipe or other means to get that out so we can access the service rod itself. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, should we have the executive session before the trustee open session as stated here? Or we can come out of.
Totally up to you,
We
yeah.
can come out of executive session. So we have an executive session pursuant of 1 MRSA 4056A to discuss goals of the superintendent.
Make motion, so moved.
Thank you. Second? Second. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor? Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Tiffany. See you, Steve.
Hi. So yeah, you're out of executive session.
Out of executive session. So now we can do, have a trustee open session. Anyone have anything they would like to bring up?
I would just like to commend, for the record, Dennis and Mike and Jeff for getting Lewiston City to the table to get a signed agreement for our Lake Shore Drive MPI project and the infrastructure planning study, and some movement in the right direction for SCADA. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
I think all of us in here feel the same way, probably, I think.
No, thank you all for supporting.
Super, thank you. Anyone else for the trustee open session? I hear silence. Anyone like to adjourn the meeting?
Motion adjourned.
There it is.
Second.
Adjourn, thank you. And Jeff?
Second?
Second at 4:57, not bad.